listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Good morning to all of you out there. Where are you? I would love to know. I'm delighted knowing that you're there. As usual, you're going to love our guest today. It's one thing that we're going to talk about joy today. Wow, you know how I love joy. And many of us are still searching for joy in our lives. So I think you're going to love this program today. My guest is Lisa McCourt. Now, she is a best-selling author and founder of Joy School. Now, she wasn't always a joyful person, she shares, but once she found a surefire path to sustainable joy, she devoted her career to sharing her roadmap with others. Lisa says, more than anything, I just wanted to be an effective member of the team that elevates the level of love and joy in the world. Now, she's done that through writing her own books, as well as being a ghostwriter for other transformational leaders. You can find her online in her Joy School at lisamccourt.com. And she also hosts a podcast, Do Joy. So that would be another great resource for you as well. So let's welcome Lisa to the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. So happy to be here with you.
Yes. So you are prolific. You've written so much. I'm so curious who you've written with in the industry as a ghostwriter.
For a while.
Yes. Because I probably studied with some of those people over my journey as well. So anyway, but the first thing I want to talk about is just, you say in the notes that joy is part of all of us. We come here with a joyful spirit. Well, if that's so, what happens?
Yeah, that's the question, right? When I really got kerclunked on that. Kerclunk is this fancy word I use in Joy School for when some intellectual concept goes from your head down into your heart, where you really just know it as fact and it changes your default setting and the way you are in the world. When I got so clear that we are joy at our core, this is at the heart of every spiritual tradition. When you go back and look at comparative religion and all these spiritual traditions all over the world, we are love and joy. That's what animates our form. That's what we are being alive with, is this force of love and joy. And what happens is we're conditioned throughout our life from the moment we arrive here to build up these obstructions to recognizing ourselves that way. And it's about the identification and gentle release and removal of these obstructions that is the foundation of all the work that we do at Joy School, because it's not a matter of going out and finding joy somewhere or capturing joy or creating joy. We are joy. We just have to get all that other stuff out of the way.
So it's inside of us, but we've blocked it by certain things that have happened to us or the way we've interpreted them in our lives. Right.
We arrive here with this biological imperative to know things, to make sense of this crazy, overwhelming world that we've landed in, this Earth School. And our brains have only evolved to process and store a finite amount of the infinite amount of information available to us at any given moment. So we start creating buckets to organize it all. We call them our bucket beliefs in Joy School. So if you came here just expecting a boatload of unconditional love and acceptance and joy, because that's what our spirit is, and life doesn't show you that, we develop beliefs around that. We develop beliefs that we aren't worthy, that we're somehow wrong here, that we aren't good enough for the love that we thought we were here to receive and give and live in. And we, because of our limited perception filter, we go through life looking for evidence to put in that bucket. So we meet conclusions at a super, super young age before emotional bandwidth or maturity to understand things. Everything is about us. And then everything that we experience from there on out, we see through this little keyhole of perception that lines up with those early beliefs that we form. And that's how we just store up and continue to curate and feed these limiting beliefs throughout our lives. They were never based on anything real.
Right. Well, you have on one of your websites, you have you take us through the practice of determining our joy set point. What is that? I mean, it was great to go through, and I need to go through it another time. But anyway, tell us more about that.
I'm so happy that you did that. Yeah, so we all just have a level of baseline happiness, comfort, inner peace that feels comfortable to us. It's not one that we want. It's not the happiness level that we want, the joy that we want, the expansion, the freedom. It's not what we identify that we want. It's whatever feels most comfortable based on those early formed beliefs that we created about ourselves and others in the world. So without realizing it, because this all goes on below the level of our conscious awareness, we're going to create circumstances and ignore opportunities or openings so that we always can kind of level off at that joy set point. We'll have days where it feels like we bumped it up and other days where it feels like we're, down underneath the baseline level, but always with the subconscious goal of leveling off where we are comfortable and living the degree of joy that we deep down believe we deserve. So it's not impossible to raise the joy set point. It just requires some observation, some self-inquiry, and dedication to some new habits.
Well, have you incorporated that into what makes for a joyful life? Is knowing your set point? Is that correct?
It's an important starting point. Yeah, because we need to be able to really, one of the earliest tools that we master in Joy School is becoming the observer of ourselves, becoming the observer of our thoughts. And that's not something that comes real naturally to most of us. We've mostly been conditioned to align with our thoughts, to believe that our thoughts are us, right? I think, therefore I am. Biggest mistake to ever happen in philosophy, right? Our thoughts are really not the truth of who we are. They're just the truth of our conditioning up until this point. So to start noticing them, observing them, having that little bit of detachment from our thoughts, that's where we can really see, oh, I just keep putting myself back in that cycle where my joy feels comfortable. I decided to do something different. Let me remind myself of that and change where my keyhole is lined up so I can see something outside of it that I wouldn't ordinarily be able to see in my life.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about joy?
Yeah.
There's lots.
There's lots. For
Yeah.
sure, the biggest one, and this is just about not understanding how creation happens, but the biggest misperception is that it's a outside-in job. That when I have that degree or that partner or that home or that vacation or that toy, when I have that external thing, that will create joy for me as an internal experience. And it's completely the other way around. That's just what we know about how energy works now. We have to upgrade our internal landscape to one of joy and ease and bliss and pleasure and all the goodies. Once our internal landscape is recalibrated, that energy goes out and recreates everything in our external landscape. So the biggest misperception is that it's an outside-in job when it's always truly an inside-out job.
Oh, you just burst a bubble for me. I went on a trip after COVID to Scotland, and it was a real daring thing for me to do, not one I normally do, but I was so determined because I'd watched Netflix forever. And they had that wonderful series about Scotland. And so I just had to go. And I remember staying in my hotel room, and it was like I was just all of a sudden washing in joy. I felt thrilled to be there, thrilled I had done this for me, but that's an outside experience, isn't it?
You know what? if you were thrilled when you were there and you still feel thrilled when you remember it, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to venture that you created that from what we call a run to in Joy School. When we have a desire out there, when we identify anything that I want that, I want that. The next work to do is to really break down where that desire is coming from, because for a lot of us, a lot of our desires are compensation tendencies for one of those bucket beliefs, a feeling of unworthiness.
Oh,
I'm not good enough. I don't really deserve this. So we identify something we want out there, and we want it so bad, and we want it so hard, and it doesn't feel good in the wanting, and we might struggle and struggle and struggle and create it anyway, but then it's not going to bring us the feelings that we thought it was going to bring us. We're just going to need the next thing to do that, because it didn't really address the core need, the core issue. It sounds
right.
like in your example, you just saw a run to. You're just, your heart lit up. You were gifted something in your external experience that you intuitively knew, ooh, I want that. I want to experience that for myself. And it was a pure run to, and you probably were able to manifest it pretty quickly and easily, because when we manifest from a run to, it's not too hard to have our desires. And it did bring you all that joy and happiness
Yes.
because there was no lower vibe compensation attached to the desire.
And I still recalling it, I still feel joy about the moment. You're right on. I still carry it. But anyway, it's kind of interesting. I would have to go back and study just to connect with the feeling that actually made that happen in me. Would I not? Am I explaining that right?
I think you just get to own that one and just say, look at what a glorious, powerful manifester I am when I listen to my heart, when I follow my intuition, when I go after something that just lights me up and feels exciting and invigorating. That's when we're hearing the voice of our inner knowing. We do a lot in school about discerning the voices. We all have voices talking to us in our heads all day long. This is what it means to be a human being. We're usually listening to the loud, overpowering voice of what we call in Joy School our horizontal self versus our vertical self. Horizontal
Right.
self, the ego, the persona, it's the trying to manage all these fears and limitations. And when that's the voice that's directing us, it's just never going to be as smooth a manifestation. It's never going to bring us what we want. You, in that moment, were listening to the voice of your vertical self, your higher knowing. You saw a beautiful opportunity and you ran toward it, and you had a beautiful experience. That's what we're here to do once we clear some of these beliefs away, once we clear some of the obstructions, so we can just hear that voice and know how to go have fun on this playground that we came to play in.
Well, some people have this feeling that it's selfish. And again, I think that's placed in somebody's mind. There are probably voices that they're here saying this, but it's selfish to have joy or be so joyful. And I've even been with some people that are just so joyful. You just want to hit them or walk away or do something. They're just like over the top. But are they indeed living in true joy, or are they pretending?
Well, there's one question for sure. I think there's a fake it till you make it tendency in a lot of positive thinking trainings, and even law of attraction sometimes gets so misconstrued. We have to put on a happy face so that, if I let myself think that dark thought, I'm going to attract dark things. It's not the Joy School way or the Joy School perspective at all. We are fully embracing of every natural emotion that is available to us human beings here. And I even argue that joy is really not about happiness. Joy is just a freedom feeling. When you are free to feel and honor any emotion that comes up in you and love yourself right there and have compassion for yourself right there, that's where there's an undercurrent of joy in all of the emotions. You can be angry or grieving and feel a rightness and a release when you just let that natural emotion just move through you like it's meant to. So yes, there is definitely that. And for people who say joy is going after my joy is selfish, I feel like that's a really prevalent sort of a underlying thing today, when there's so much strife and stress and all of the things that are happening in the world, it feels like, how can I pay attention to joy when there are so many problems to solve, when there's so many things I have to go fix? It's like every day's a new game of whack-a-mole. We got to like take care of that problem and that problem. Oh, joy, that's frivolous. I don't have time for that. And again, it's just about getting clear on the understanding that if you want to be an effective person in the world, if you want to be effective at raising the vibration of this world, so in need of people raising its vibration, you got to start with you. It's an inside job. When you are already embodying that higher frequency, it's going to touch every person that you encounter, whether it's your family and inner circle, or your friends, or the people that you interact with on social media. Every person in your sphere of influence, which is a lot for most of us on a day-to-day basis, will have a better day and a better experience just from their interaction with you. We're vibrational beings in a vibrational world. We can't help but affect one another in that way. So putting time and effort into your own joy is the least selfish thing you could possibly do, especially if you're used to turning to your partner to make you happy, or your kids or your friends. That's not doing them any favors.
Right. Yeah. Okay, I have a question, but let me phrase it here. When you get to joy, and you're experiencing more joy every day through the practice of maybe joining your school and going through that. But what happens when you have those things in life that are, I would call them robbers? They're stops. They just come smack you in the face and say, no, you have to face this, or you have trauma in your house, or, death, whatever. And it leaves you sad again. Can you be sad and have joy at the same time?
You can. And I teach a lot of Buddhist principles in Joy School, and this is where Buddhism comes in very informational and enlightening. And we're supposed to expect those things. This is what we signed on for. This is Earth School. We learn from our challenges. We grow from our challenges. When we get super clear looking back on our lives, where each of those horrible things that was so hard to get through at the time actually opened us and expanded us and was a gift in strange wrapping paper, which we can get to that place no matter what's happened, even the big T traumas. When we can see that, it's easier to apply that understanding in the moment to whatever is unfolding. And I don't see the gift in this right now. I certainly wouldn't have consciously ordered this up, but I'm here for Earth School. This is going to expand me in some way. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to come to it in a new way, different from the way I came to it last time, which might have been better than the way I came to it the time before that and the time before that. But I get an opportunity to keep bringing this new understanding of myself. And Buddhists call it piti. It's the ability to maintain your inner posture of joy and ease no matter what's going on around you, because you're actually grateful for every new lesson that Earth School is providing you.
Yeah. It's taking it more as, rather than an awful thing that happens to you, it's a lesson of life. Changes the whole energy around it, from a victim to a stepping stone.
Yeah. Right. And if you think about it, if anybody ever said to you, I do not expect anything challenging to happen to me in my life, you'd laugh at them. We know that's not the case, right? Deep down, we know life is going to throw us curveballs. We know there are going to be difficult people. We know there are going to be big decisions to make and tricky health to navigate, or whatever it is. We know that's part of a human life, but we still, when it happens, act all shocked and surprised. Oh no, a challenge has appeared.
Yes. Well, I have an older community in my personal life, and I see so many of those women struggling with health issues. And it's so hard once you get to a certain age where you do have, the body wears out. So you do have challenges, and it's good to start those exercises early, listeners out there, to maintain that body. But there are times, and how do you support a friend as she's going through something like that?
I would support a friend right where she is. If she's just mad as all get out one day about it, be mad with her. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's be mad about this. This is okay to be mad. This thing is anger producing, and that's all right, and we can be there. And if she's grieving one day, or you want to just make somebody's emotions okay, because
Yeah.
the emotions themselves don't cause all the suffering. The suffering is our resistance to them, our embarrassment about feeling them, or shame about feeling them, or, oh, I should be grateful it's not worse, or I should be able to look at the bright side. No, you should feel whatever you're feeling, sweet pea, right this moment right here. You just feel that, and
Right.
being there with them, and just sort of meeting them there is what allows it to flow through. And then once an emotion has exhausted itself, there's an opening for peace and more acceptance and surrender to whatever's happening.
So she can't really, and I have a friend in my mind, she can't really move on in a healthy way without addressing the anger or the pain or the emotional block there, right?
I don't want to speak, and as a expert on medical things by any means, but I know a lot of spiritual teachers would point out that it is those repressed emotions that cause most of our physical ailments. It is the times that we repressed our anger, or repressed our grief, or just we didn't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with it when it happened earlier in our life. And it actually gets into our cells. There's like a whole science behind it, where every emotional reaction creates neuropeptides that then store to cells in our tissues. And
Mm,
then every time we come across something in our external world that matches the frequency of that old stored energy, it triggers it in us again, and releases all that anger and those chemicals again. And it's really only by, in Joy School we call it our feel to heal practices. It's just feeling it and being okay with it, and giving ourselves love and compassion there, and getting love and compassion from others if we have that available. That's what allows it to release.
mhm, yeah. Oh, why did you, and how many years ago did you start Joy School?
It wasn't always called Joy School, but I've been
Oh,
teaching basically this framework of trainings for over 20 years.
yes. But it was a different name before.
It's been a couple of things. Yeah. I used to do, creativity. It was creativity early on in my
Yeah.
creativity workshops. And for a while, when it was all in-person trainings, it was the Love Shack. And then when we took it online, it became Joy School.
Hmm. Yeah. And in the school, what do you particularly focus on? Or can you kind of give my audience a little lesson as to what
Yeah.
they could expect through the school?
Yeah. So one of the pillars we've already touched on is just that we are joy at our core,
Mhm.
right? That's kind of a basic understanding. And we traveled two separate paths. One is all about that internal landscape we were talking about, learning how to be a joyful person, learning how to have inner peace and bliss and compassion for self and others. That's the really important path, because no one's
Mhm.
really taught us that stuff. It's not part of what we're typically
Right.
taught to stress or give importance to here. And then the other parallel path is manifestation, getting all those things that we want out there to look the way we want. And it's really important to be clear that it's not in the way that we're taught to understand it. It's a first this, then that kind of a scenario. Getting all that stuff out there is not going to make us happy. It is just an ever changing carrot at the end of the stick that just keeps us moving forward. And yet, we came here to do a human life, to have some fun with that. So we call
Mhm.
it pushing the pieces around the game board. How are we going to push the pieces around the game board this month? And creating these things that we want to create keeps us inspired, keeps us sort of focused with our energy. So manifestation is one of the two paths that we travel in Joy School.
Mhm.
And the other foundational piece that I touched on a little bit is that we all are here in two capacities. We all are here as a physical body, and we all are here as a soul, as an energetic presence. And we've been so conditioned to put all of our energy and focus and attention on this physical aspect of us, that a lot of us have lost our connection to that soul self. And that's where all the natural joy resides, and the love and the bliss. So getting clear that we are a vertical self as well as a horizontal self, our practices become about a repositioning of those two aspects of us, bringing the vertical self a little bit more into the foreground of our lives while just gently escorting the horizontal self into the back seat a little bit. We don't want to lose it. We couldn't lose it if we wanted to. It's an important part of, it's the vehicle we're traveling through the space and time in. But when we learn that all of these horizontal things that feel so important are not really as important as we make them, it just opens up for the natural joy that is our vertical self to fill it in that space.
Yeah. You have on your website that I went to see. Well, first, the new book that we want to talk about is Free Your Joy, the 12 Keys to Sustainable Happiness. And that's going to come out in August. So they can go get their copy now on your website. The website is LISAMCCOURT.com. Is that where they would go to get your book?
You can buy it anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, indie bookstores. But yeah, it's all the links are there at lisamccourt.com if you want to go there. Yeah. And if wherever they do order it, they should come to lisamccourt.com regardless, because there's a whole bundle of goodies that come with it for a brief little limited time only. There's
good.
A limited membership in Joy School to come to live online events. And my friends have just been so generous with online intuitive readings and energy healings, and all of that is just, while the number lasts. So if you want Free Your Joy anywhere, go to Lisa McCourt and get all your goodies.
Well, there is the one goodie that I spoke about that I listened to. You talked about the point, identifying the point, and then I listened to about a half of it, but I have to go finish the rest of it. Okay. It was so interesting, and I really do encourage you listeners out there to go to it, and you can just get a real touch for what Lisa does in her work. And I think that's important to do. Now, your business name is Joy School with Lisa McCourt. Is that what you use to go to the Joy School, or is that where do we?
It's all just at lisamccourt.com. There are different tabs that show you for online membership, and we have one-off events every month, two different events that people could sign up for a la carte if they'd like.
Oh my goodness. I have to go back and study some more. Look at it some more.
But right now, if you order the book, you get a little sampling of those events for free. So that would be the way to do it while that lasts.
Is there anything we have missed that we should cover?
Oh, I don't know.
I do this question in my interview process that I talk about defining moments, and you were very clear to share that we define or we create who we are by experiences that we have, and it's those experiences and how we interpret them that create and determine the joy that we have, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, in defining moments, I'm always jealous when someone talks about, this turnaround point in their life. Like, I had this dark night of the soul and I woke up the next day, and a lot of my teachers and gurus like Byron Katie had that moment looking at the cockroach under the bed and her whole world shifted, and Michael Singer had that moment on his couch with his brother-in-law. And I actually was shown in a deep meditation that I did not too long ago, all of my micro awakenings. And I was like, I see that now. I see that there was a micro awakening when I was 14. There was a micro awakening in college when I was studying Buddhism. And most of mine have been related to something I was reading or a teacher I was studying with. And I think that's why, for me, once you've had sort of like a really powerful, positive life transformation, I think it's natural to want to bring that to others. I know you know what I'm talking about, Joyce. And I think that it's natural also, however they have come for us, that's how we want to provide them. I have a friend who writes gorgeous, soulful music, and it's because for her, music transformed her. So translates that into, that's what she wants to bring to others, is this awakening through music. And I think since for me, it always came through teachers and books. That's what I try to do as my contribution.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it has been wonderful having you on this podcast today. Now, the Joy podcast, is it called Joy Podcast?
Called
Your
Do Joy. Do Joy
What?
with Lisa McCourt, the Vibration
Do-
Elevation podcast. Yeah.
All right. And where do they go to find that?
Wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, Google, Spotify.
All of those.
The network is Mind, Body, Spirit.
Well, I don't want to turn loose of you. I want to keep talking, but I guess it's that time. And you have shared so much wisdom with us today, and I'm hoping that my listeners will reach out and be excited about finding their own joy, because you've certainly planted the roadmap. The book becomes available in August.
The pre-orders are going on already, and August 22nd is when you'll receive your book. Yeah, but the goodies only last for pre-orders, so get it before it comes out.
Oh, yes. Okay, we will. So again, if you'll just wait a minute, I want to say in a few words to my listeners, and then
For sure. Thank you so much, Joyce. I love this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, have I not provided a wonderful opportunity in your just meeting Lisa and her growth path over her life? It's so interesting. And we get to reap the rewards because they have traveled and they have benefited from their travel. And you can go directly to some of their learning as they are sharing it with us. So I do encourage you to sign up for that book and to also take the advantage of listening to her podcast or do Joy the School. So there's so many opportunities of growth that are available with Lisa. So they're all here. If you're reaching out and it's a time that you'd really like to connect with your joy and become a joyful person more in your life, more joyful in your life, I strongly encourage that you go to Lisa's website and be exposed. So thank you for being here today. Help share. That's one of the things I always ask y'all to do because people are so busy now. But if you have a friend that is searching, please share this podcast with her today. And I know she will benefit as well. So thank you for being here. It always makes me happy to know you're out there. And I look forward to next week. So hope you'll be here. Thanks for being here today.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.